Other great games, of course, in '74, the Celtics won the NBA championship as well when you were with them. And during that season, there was you played the Milwaukee Bucks, and of course Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was with him at that time. And in Game 7, and this is when it's all about Game 7 in championship series, you had 28 points and 14 rebounds. Can you recollect and share your recollections of that series and that game?
Well, it was kind of an odd series, and people talk about winning on the road is so hard. I didn't think it was that hard, and actually in that particular series, each team won 2 or 3 games on the other team's home floor. We started out in Milwaukee because they had a better record. We won the opening game, then they won. Then we go to Boston, we win, and they win. Then we go back to Milwaukee, we win. They go to Boston, they win. We go to Milwaukee, we win. So everybody was winning on the road. So I didn't, we had one season we only lost 14 games. We lost more home games than road games that year. So to us, playing on the road wasn't a big deal. I mean, what's the difference? The court's the same. You're on the road, and who cares if it's maybe you have I always used to think maybe you had the referees were affected more by the game, but not the players and not the style of play. So that seventh game, we were used to winning on the road, so it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just really one style against the other. Larry Costello, the coach, he had a playbook about this thick, and about this much of it was all about Jabbar getting the ball. Right? It wasn't a whole lot of, I think Jabbar's probably going to touch it this time down. And so that was the guy I was guarding. And for 4 years, playing against this guy, plus through the entire playoff series, we never did any help. There was no double teaming off the pass or any rotating or any of that nonsense. It was like, okay, Dave, suck it up. You got your bar tonight. Okay, the next night we'd be playing and say, okay, JoJo, you got Jerry West. You got to suck it up. I mean, we're going to help you, but it's not going to be a lot of that real help stuff, going on. And the whole idea was that try to score more points as a team than the other guys, not the sort of the individual matchup. So in between the loss in a double overtime in Boston on Friday night, we go and play the 7th game in Milwaukee in an afternoon game on Mother's Day. And so in between that time, Tommy Heinsohn, Bob Cousy, and Red Auerbach, I think it was at Bob Cousy's thought, says, why don't we take the ball out of Jabbar's hand and double him up and make this guy named Cornell Warner a player? Make him have to shoot the ball because he's always at the top of the key, to there when, to be open or whatever. And so just like that, we said, okay, we're going to change. This is the last game of the year. We're going to change, and now we're going to double up. So we go to practice on Saturday, and Tommy Heinsohn says, well, this is what we're going to do. I go, yes. Yes, we're going to get the ball out of Jabbar's hands. And so that really sort of made me a little more energetic because I knew it wasn't going to me just going boom, boom, trying to get up and block a shot that I never was going to block because he just would extend a little bit more and shoot that sky hook over me, And so it worked out that it sort of surprised them because they weren't expecting it. And then the whole other thing was that we had a team, we pressed. And the other thing that drives me crazy, talk about people getting tired nowadays. I always go, preserve them, got to get tired, they're worn out. We pressed that whole series against Milwaukee, almost every possession for 7 games in that whole final game. So then we're into our 100th game at the end of the year, and we're pressing full court, trapping, making, because we wanted to make the pace a quick pace. We didn't want them to have a lot of time to come down. So Don Chaney's out there, and he's got Oscar, and he's turning him again, and turning him again, taking some clock up. Then they throw another pass, we go double up, and then they come back. So we tried to take Jabbar out that way as well, because he was, he's one of the most dominant players ever to play our game,
Well, let me ask this before we wrap up and go to our first break. You ended up was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar guarding you?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about getting those 28 points against Jabbar. How'd you get 28 points against
Well,
him?
I had a decent shooting game, so we pull back, we run it, boom. Again, we're running down the floor. We're not going to set up a big offense either. We're going to come down. We're going to shoot. We're going to make that game. So it was really a competition about what team could dictate the pace of the game. Who could do that. And so I end up getting open because naturally centers, they're going to gravitate, as they always do, to the paint to stop a break and to be in the help defense. And so I would just slide in and, one pass, two passes, and have, a 15, 18-foot jump shot. And I just had a good shooting night that night. And so I was getting open quite a bit, and so it just worked out pretty well. Plus, I wasn't getting, I had that little rejuvenation because I knew that we were going to get the ball out of Jabbar's hands, and he wasn't going to bury that hook shot in my face all night.
Very interesting. So a great coaching tactic or strategy really helped
Well, it was amazing that the players, it just tells you the quality of the players and that how well coached they were to be able to make that adjustment without even a practice. Just say, let's just do it, and say, here's what, and they do it nowadays. That's what they can do. I mean, it's not. They're professionals. They know that game as good as anybody.
Thank you for sharing these insights in our first segment.
Okay. Then.
Can you talk to us about your 1973 season being MVP in All-Star and regular season? That's pretty incredible.
Well, we had a really good team. I mentioned that that year we only lost 14 games. So. It was my third year, so I sort of had a feel for the league at that time, and sort of just things happened, and it's because you win is when you get the notice. And back then the players and coaches voted on who was going to be the MVP, not the media. The media, I think, started doing the Rookie of the Year and maybe Coach of the Year, but I'm not even sure of that. But they didn't do the MVP. Sporting News had part of that. One of the magazines. So that was a real honor that players from all over the league, and Jabbar came in second, but he probably should have been the MVP, but,
No.
I was better looking than him.
There you go.
I don't know. Who knows how you win these things?